Welcome back to the True Geordie YouTube channel. Today we are covering the Axel Rudicabana murders in Southport. We've covered it from the get-go. The inquiry into what happened before he committed these murders and the amount of opportunities that were missed to stop this guy and the reasons behind that. It's so fucking disturbing. It really hits home. Like, there is no protection from the government out there. They don't give a shit, actually. And they are actively making things more dangerous for everyone. That's the truth. But before we uncover the mountain of shit that we're going to get through today, I just want to give you a heads up for a couple of videos that are coming this month. First of all, there's a vlog coming for my trip to Las Vegas, which it was insane. I'd never been to Vegas before. It was one of the best trips of my life. We went to the clubs, we did the partying, we shot guns, we went to fights. If you, like me, you want to see me having a good time, a little too good of a time, you're going to enjoy that video. And actually, the next video coming out after that is kind of linked to the Vegas vlog, because when I got home from Vegas, I stepped on the scales. I was 23 stone, which is 323 pounds for those Americans out there. I was a fucking whale. And that prompted this transformation that I've been on. But I want to do a video about the transformation, but it's going to be about weight loss, but it's going to be about a lot of things. What's going on up here? You know, my mental health, a lot of things that made me think I need to change, and about being a better person. And I don't do a lot of these videos, but when I do them, I really want them to help people out there. And hopefully you lot can learn something about how I made my life better. Not just weight loss, but the deeper stuff that we'll get into. So hopefully you'll enjoy those two videos, because I think a lot of you say you need to give us a bit more of you. And I know I don't do that as much these days, so hopefully you do enjoy them. And big thanks to everyone who's been supporting the channel recently. The comments have been lovely. Really appreciate you lot. And before we get into today's video, obviously, got to pay the bills. We got to say a big thank you to today's sponsor. And then it's time to get into just an insane story. Listen to this, right? Because this is important. When you're online, you're in more danger than you would ever realize, and you'll only know about it when it's too late. You see, because of things like AI, fraud is becoming more rampant than ever. And if you're not protected against it, it's like driving without a seatbelt. You're asking for trouble at this point. You wouldn't actually believe how easy it's become to get your personal details. And when they fall into the wrong hands, that's when criminals will use these details for identity theft, stalking, harassment, fraud. These phone calls we all get where that mystery person's pretending to be your phone provider and get your bank details off you, that's the tip of the iceberg. All because data brokers sell your personal information online, and these scammers, they lap it up. And to remove this data manually on your own would take hundreds of hours. And even if you could manage it, it would be back up within an hour. So if you're going to be online, then you need your seatbelt on, and that is Incogni. Incogni is an unbelievable service. It's so genius, and it removes all of your personal data online. It keeps you safe, and then it continues to keep you safe by constantly checking if your data is ever out there. And for a service that is so valuable in this day and age, it costs less than a coffee a month. For that level of safety for yourself and the people that you love, it's absolutely priceless. Because once you sign up with Incogni, and there's 60% off when you use my link, they will reach out to all of these data brokers and remove all of your details from the internet. And in doing my research before working with these guys, I've seen the victims' stories of how they've been signed up for bloody credit cards they didn't know about. It's terrifying. So for the price of less than a coffee a month, click the link in the description below. Get yourself signed up, get yourself protected, and you can save yourself a lot of money and a lot of stress in the process. And by the way, this is risk-free for 30 days. So if you sign up and you're not happy in the 30-day period, you get a full refund. This is what we call a no-brainer. And for 60% off, there's no reason not to give it a go. So click the link in the description below, sign up, and big love, and enjoy the video. I want to take you back in time real quick to the Axel Rudicabana taxi trip on his way to the dance class where he would commit the most horrific murders imaginable. Now, in that dance school, these three beautiful little girls, Baby, Elsie, and Alice, were murdered, and multiple other kids were attacked. And actually, the adults who were teaching them were also attacked. One of those girls was stabbed over 100 times. This attack, it touched Britain in a way that very few things ever could. And the people don't just want justice, they want to know what happened, what went wrong, what could have been done to prevent this. And if there's one thing that got in the way of us getting those answers, and continues to, it's the way that the authorities, be it the police, education, mental health, all of these services who were supposed to be put there to protect us from psychopaths like him, when they didn't do their job, they banded together along with the media to control the narrative. All from the very first story, even. You remember this picture that was released of the first image of him, of that innocent little, choir boy? How could he have done this? The news story, boy 17 accused of murdering 3 girls in Southport, was a quiet choir boy unwilling to leave the house with this image attached. And as we now know, the reality was very different. This kid was an absolute monster. Now, the main people getting the blame from the inquiry initially are his parents. In that, the BBC reports here, the Southport killer's parents failed in moral duty to report son. Now, that's true, right? And I'm going to get into it now, but unfortunately, they were the tip of the iceberg as well. For a kickoff, they allowed dangerous weapons to be delivered to their house, including machetes, knives, crossbows. He had materials to build a fucking petrol bomb. This was all getting delivered to their house. And this father of his was signing for the packages. In my opinion, this guy is basically an accomplice. At this point, like, the more I read into it, the more I'm like, the level of involvement his father had in allowing this to continue and happen, he should be in jail. If not, you should deport him immediately. This guy is not even a British citizen, for fuck's sake. Who the fuck lets their kid live in a room like this? This is where he was making poison. Enough poison to kill thousands of people, by the way, and his father knew it was happening. So his dad's there signing for the knives. Yep, thank you very much, because obviously you have to be a certain age for that sort of shit. He knows his son is getting up to this craziness, and he does nothing. And now he's got, a new identity, being housed in a different part of the country, locked away so that no one can fucking get at him. And a week before the eventual attack takes place, Axel Rudikabana goes into his dad's bedroom, is stabbing the bed with a knife, demanding his dad give him the other knife that apparently he'd hidden from him. He had a jerry can, which he wanted his dad to fill full of petrol. His dad refused to do that, thinking you're going to fucking go and do an arson attack, which obviously was the whole point. The kid doesn't have a fucking car. When Rudikabana doesn't get his own way, he's outside here trying to get in a taxi, and his dad actually gets him out of the taxi, pays the taxi driver off to leave. But he was going to carry out, he's wearing the same hoodie there, he was going to carry out an attack the week beforehand. That was the last opportunity. That's the moment where, as a parent, even if you've delayed and delayed and delayed, you realize this is it now. Intervene or people will die. Obviously, he did nothing. And Rudikabana was known for not leaving the house, by the way. So when he was going to leave the house, there's a reason for it. They were aware of, that was why he was panicking that his son was going the week before the attack. The day of the attack, when they realized, oh shit, he's gone. Again, they did nothing. His mum, who'd been on night shift, just goes back to bed, goes back to sleep. His dad does nothing. But what he did notice is that the empty packaging for the knife he'd just bought was lying around with no knife inside of it. So his parents, who were lucky enough to be granted asylum in this country from the horrors, allegedly, of where they came from, in return for our generosity as a country, they brought their own horror to our doorstep in the form of their demon child. And they covered up for that monster before he destroyed the lives of many families. Not just those poor little girls and their beautiful families who have to suffer for the rest of their lives, but for the protesters who were so outraged that they lost their freedom. And some people even died in jail over this, hung themselves in prison. All of this could have been avoided if these parents just did the right thing. But who knows, maybe they shouldn't have even fucking been here in the first place. How about that? So I do think these people should be in jail or deported. Absolutely, I do. But as sick and twisted as what they did was, they're not trained. They're not in positions of power and responsibility deliberately to prevent things like this from happening, right? They're just a pair of fucking pieces of shit. The authorities, the level of failure, the whole system needs ripped up. Throughout the years, he had many police visits. They never thought, should we check this bedroom? He was found on a bus by the cops with a kitchen knife. He calmly admitted that he was looking to stab someone. Also said he thought about poisoning people before. They did fuck all. They took him home and they go to the parents, yeah, just hide the knives. Hide the knives. That's it. He called up Childline when he was younger, said, I want to kill someone. It's almost like he was screaming, like, stop me before I do this. That's the maddest thing about this, actually. He admitted to carrying knives to school, saying he was going to kill someone at school. Plenty of times to plenty of people. It's not like he was secretive. This wasn't a covert operation, you know? And his parents rationalized this by saying, nah, he's just frightened though, isn't he? He's just frightened. No. People were frightened of him. The mental health services, what a joke. Honestly, this is actually laughable. This 6 days before the attack, they discharged him. Said he was no harm to no one, no threat. Imagine that. Imagine you were the doctor who said that on a piece of paper. The exact wording was no/minimal risk to others. One of the psychiatrists, a female doctor, I can't really pronounce her name, Dr. Ramasbaramayan, later admitted that she had not read the keynotes on his past violent incidents before declaring that. How the fucking hell are you going to declare someone no/minimal risk to others without reading up on him? Bearing in mind the documentation on this kid, all of the incidents and the things he was known for, you could choke a fucking elephant with it. So to not even to glance through that is insane. And I love the way they've written it. They go, she admitted that made her risk assessment slightly flawed. This next one actually is worse. This actually takes the cake, this one. So Rudiker Bonner was expelled from school because he attacked another kid with an actual weapon, right? And he was planning on stabbing him to death. So they put him into a special school. While there, the teachers were like, something's not right with this fucker. They said he was cold-blooded and he had an obsession with violence. He was searching things online like beheadings and friggin' school shootings, and he was speaking positively about the Manchester bombing, and he was also looking up Al-Qaeda. When the teachers visited him at home to talk to the family and that, they required a police escort because they were so scared of him. The head teacher in particular was quoted as saying she had a visceral sense of dread about this boy and that he was building up to something. I mean, fucking hell. They nailed him, to be fair. The teachers actually were spot on. So the teachers have to deal with the mental health social worker types, don't they? So they try and tell them this. We've got to keep a fucking eye on this kid. The mental health worker accused her of racially profiling him as him being a black boy with a knife, insinuating that head teacher was only saying these things because she was racist. Now that blows my mind, because this woman is looking at this boy. He's bringing knives in. He's a danger to the other kids. He's literally been expelled for attacking other children. He's looking at beheadings and Al-Qaeda and all this shit online. What the fuck does race have to do with any of that? Whether that boy was black or white or any fucking colour, it doesn't matter. Those are the behavioural signs of a fucking psychopath. She inserted race into the conversation. Naturally, when this happened, the teacher felt like, well, I can't fucking say anything now, because if I keep pressing forward with this and yous are calling me racist, I'm gonna look racist. And she said in the inquiry, it silenced her. She felt unable to go any further to intervene in the situation because she was being called a racist. She'd reached a point where her job felt at risk, because if you get known as a racist in that line of work, you're finished. And for me, this exposes such a huge issue in the system. We've known for years that the racism label is thrown around as a form of control. It began as a way to shape the way people vote, the way people behave towards mass immigration. You can't complain about it. You're a big racist. And it worked. And because it worked, it's now filtered its way into schools, social services, policing, and everything else. And in this instance, it's shut down safety concerns. In one of the most important opportunities people could have ever have had to intervene in this situation, it paralyzed them, because people are terrified of criticizing someone of color and being known as a bigot. No one wants that, understandably. And what's mad is when I looked into this, the woman who was behind these allegations, this mental health worker, her organisation, it's like a fucking billboard for this shit. So this is Alder Hayes Children's NHS Foundation Trust, which the woman worked for. You've got your usual equality, diversity and inclusion shite. And more specifically, they've got an anti-racism statement and commitment, which just goes on and on and on and on about how important this is to them. They're saying together, we will deliver the changes needed to become actively anti-racist. What is anti-racist? You know what I mean? Like, you're either racist or you're not racist. This is so fucking wild now. So they said they're going to implement anti-racist policies. We will work towards effectively implementing the Northwest BAME Assembly anti-racist framework. What a load of shite this all is. Honestly, I'm fucking sick of this shit. Because on paper, this is great. I get it. You're promoting, equality, all of that good stuff, which we all fucking believe, unless you're a lunatic. But the problem is, in practice, it makes people go too far the other way, where they're like looking for it where it isn't even there, because they want the brownie points to be able to tell the woke masters, oh, well, look what I did. It's such a good job in reporting all these people. And actually, when you look at the data, it's reflective of that. In 1 year, staff reporting of racism went up from 18% to 30%. Did people just become massively more racist, did they? Because judging by the example we have been given here in this poor head teacher who's simply pointing out that this kid's a psycho, and this woman's going, you're racist. racist, you're looking for it now where it isn't even there because you've all been fucking brainwashed. And in this case, it is provable that instead of judging each individual child on their behavior, what they've done with weapons, their threats, their personality traits, all of the things that you need to take into account, the overriding factor in this scenario was that boy's skin color. And in a job where it's supposed to be about keeping everyone safe, skin colour should be the last thing we're thinking about, I'm afraid. Because it's got fuck all to do with this situation. And when this organisation is drilling this into their employees about anti-racism, there is no doubt, given what happened here, that they are now softening their approach towards anyone of colour in fear of being a racist. Instead of being clear of mind and just thinking about the actual job they are supposed to do, which is keep monsters like this the fuck away from the community. I can't believe a mental health professional whose job is safeguarding people would even think about this. And you know how mental it got? The teacher, obviously on his report, wrote down these concerns. And because this mental health social worker type wasn't happy with what she'd written down, she rewrote it in the report as if it never was there. So there was no record of all of these concerns in the report that mattered, which was his EHCP. They rewrote the truth because of his skin colour. That is the facts. And if they hadn't have been worried about his skin colour and I'd have listened to this woman, maybe those girls would still be alive. And it's crazy to think how anti-racism and the policies that come with that are actually highly racist, because preferential treatment to anyone because of their skin colour is racism. There's no good racism and bad racism. There's just racism, I'm afraid. And I can only imagine, and I don't want to, but being a parent of one of those poor little girls and hearing that these people had that monster within their sights and there was someone ringing the alarm bell and people played it down, rewrote the things about him because of his fucking skin colour. And the cowards that are the Alder Hey Children's NHS Foundation Trust and their mental health worker applied for anonymity in this inquiry. They didn't want anyone to know it was them. And the woman's name who did all that was Samantha Steed. You are a fucking disgrace. But at least you're not racist, eh? Yeah, I hope you feel really proud of yourself. You've done a great job there, haven't you? Unfortunately, they weren't the only ones who are completely fucking useless at what they were supposed to be doing in this scenario. Prevent, who are there to stop young people becoming terrorists, they had him reported to them 3 separate times. Now, the issue with Prevent is an independent inquiry found in 2023, that they have an institutional hesitancy to tackle Islamism. And the reason being, according to this review, is that they are scared of being labelled Islamophobic. Now, the problem with that is that MI5 and the counter-terrorism police, they have said that 75% of all of their cases are dealing with extremist Islamists. So if you're there to stop people becoming terrorists and you can't deal with the predominant threat, well, then you're not much fucking use, are you? And what made me laugh when I looked into this is one of the main criticisms is that when it comes to identifying what is, an Islamist extremist, the boundaries for what they class as that is extremely narrow. So it's very hard to get people to qualify for it, right? They're making it really hard to just identify people, deliberately hard, because they don't want to, upset anyone. But by comparison, when it comes to being a far-right extremist, the boundaries for what you class as one is extremely broad. Because they're not worried. They're not scared of being called anti-anything or this, that, and the other. No one gives a fuck. So it's very easy for them to label someone as far-right extreme, but it's very hard for them to go, that's an Islamist extremist. Interesting that, isn't it? And the reason that this is particularly interesting is a journalist in the last week has come out and said that he's been speaking to family members of the victims and also people involved in this investigation. And David Atherton, the journalist I'm talking about, he claims that they were already well aware of the potential threat of Axel Rudikabana at the highest level. He said that they had a file on Rudikabana and they were tracking him as a potential Islamist terrorist. And after finding the poison in his house and the Al-Qaeda manual, the Merseyside police were going to acknowledge that this was a terror attack. They communicated this intention privately to the victims' families. They told them that this is what we are going to declare. Now, this journalist says somewhere along the line, they completely 180'd on that, the police, and they went from, yes, we're going to say it's a terror attack, to it's not a terror attack, which clearly suggests that the government have intervened. Now, we remember at the time, Keir Starmer was trying to keep control of a very angry country. And you can quite imagine the way Starmer is, him saying, we're not fucking admitting this. So the police gave a statement which completely contradicted what they'd said to the victims' families.
At this moment in time, the investigation is not being treated as terrorist related.
Now, that cop, she took a lot of flack for that statement and later resigned. And a lot of people think that she resigned because she was forced to take the fall and lie to the public about what was going on. And if you're questioning the validity of this, then good, because we should always question everything we're told. But interestingly, the Merseyside BBC account has just posted that the families of the victims have said that they will name the police and social workers involved in this unless action is taken, the family lawyer has said. Would they be saying that if they had felt like everything had been honest with them and everything had been communicated with them from the get-go? And Keir Starmer even admitted at the time that he knew the full story and that he didn't tell us the truth because he couldn't.
If that information had come out when the riots were happening, it would have provoked further outrage by the public, so you withheld information. Is that true?
I've got to give credit to the person who asked this question, by the way. It's so rare to get good journalists now. Well done.
Yes, I knew the details as they were emerging. That is the usual practice in a case such as this. But you know and I know that it would not have been right to disclose those details. The only losers, if the details had been disclosed, would be the victims and the families, because it ran the risk the trial would collapse.
So he knew he had an Al-Qaeda manual. He knew he'd been making poison in his house. He knew all of it. But the reason he didn't say anything was because he wouldn't want the trial to collapse. It's funny because around the time that this was happening, he had no problem in labelling people protesting what had been going on all as far-right thugs.
I utterly condemn the far-right thuggery we've seen this weekend.
Far-right thugs. They couldn't have just been ordinary people who were so upset and outraged that these little girls were massacred. They had to be politically motivated. And therefore, when they finally stood in front of a judge, that judge would have in his mind, Keir Starmer thinks you're a far-right guy, and he would have that prejudice coming into the trial. He did not give two shits about that. And yet, he wanted to protect people from the truth of Axel Rudikabana because he cared so much about the trial, did he? The only person Keir Starmer wanted to protect was himself. And the potential anger and uprising that was bubbling up at that time that could have gained a lot of momentum if some of those details had have came out. That's what he was trying to hide, and that is why. And people like this woman here were sent to jail for multiple years for tweets they made at the time. This protester, known as Peter Lynch, went to jail for a few years. He hung himself in prison during that time. The level of punishment handed out to these people was such an overreaction compared to what was actually done, especially when you compare it to what punishments are handed out to people who do far worse crimes. This will be Keir Starmer's everlasting legacy, this entire thing. And yet, knowing he hid the facts from the public, which he should have no right to do that. They should have no right to do that. You work for us, motherfucker. He puts this statement out talking about the bravery of people and saying he will do everything he can to honour their memory. He is honestly a disgrace, this man. All he cared about when this happened was not making sure it never happens again and exposing all the corruption and getting to the bottom of it. It was locking the people up who were angry about it. That's all he gave a fuck about, and I'll never forget that. And it's so ironic that he talks so often about protecting the people of Britain when hiding information from them is actually, from what I'm seeing online, one of the main things he does.
Keir Starmer, or his team, they issue DSMA notices. So when you read a news story, it will say a man of 40 has been arrested for abusing a woman of, well, normally a girl, isn't it? A child. They are omitting details of ethnicity, of location. That is because it's a DSMA notice. Because how
What's
often
DSMA?
So it's they cannot run it. They cannot run this information, and it's under the guise of national security. You can't run it under national security.
So it's not the newspapers making it, because a lot of people are on Twitter going, "Oh, bloody newspaper, look at you."
No, it's not them.
Isn't it funny that national security almost always has fuck all to do with the public and everything to do with protecting the people at 10 Downing Street? When I seen this clip, I thought, yeah, like, we see these stories all the time where a crime is committed, and yet a lot of the time you get a description of the people who do it, and then sometimes you're like, why is there no description of who the fuck is doing this? How would you not put that in the story? I'll give you an example. This happened in the last few days. Police appeal after woman raped outside of church in Epsom. A woman in her 20s reported she was attacked after leaving a nightclub in Surrey. She said she was attacked by several men. Now, from what I understand, she's given descriptions of these men to the police. There is not one iota of detail about these men in this report. And you've got locals tweeting out, like, what the fuck is going on here? This guy here, as a resident of Epsom, with daughters and granddaughters, I would have hoped that Epsom police would have provided some information on the alleged gang rape at the weekend. All residents in danger. Was the girl followed from the nightclub? What do these men look like? Did they harass others? Have they been in any other incidents outside the church? Have any other witnesses come forward? No comparable crime has ever happened here before. Has our MP anything to say? The silence is sparking all sort of rumours and dangerous speculation. Now, we have no idea who these people were, what they look like, if they were immigrants, whatever. But the silence is deafening. And when you hear that Keir Starmer hides this information from the public deliberately as to not whip people up because he doesn't want his precious immigration policy fucking affected, and then you see stories like this week after week, day after day, it's like, this is fucking going on all the time, isn't it? And again, this church story could be anyone. But when you leave it open to speculation like this, when a horrific crime goes on and the entire community is looking over their shoulder wondering, who the fuck did this? Why do we have no description when several men have just raped this poor woman? That's not governance. That's not leadership. That's insane. And the fact that they think that you can just sit there and go, you don't need to know that. You don't need to know that. What, one of the daughters of the community has just been gang raped by several men, and we don't need to know who the fuck did it, and we elected you. Who the fuck are you? The fact that this is even legal blows my mind. So if you're in fear in the community and you're worrying, fuck me, we don't even get news reports with the information. Yeah, like, we don't know who's around, what's going on. Don't panic, all right? Don't worry, because Keir Starmer, check this out, he's banned Kanye West. No need to panic, everyone. Everything's fine. Kanye's not coming. Don't worry. I know you're worried he might play some songs and, you know, say some stupid shit on stage or whatever, but he's not coming anymore, so we can all sleep at night. Bottom line, we will always take the necessary action to protect the public and uphold our values. How he can even write that? His hand should burst into flames as he's typing away on his phone. And I'll tell you what's ironic. Keir Starmer banning a black man. Sounds a bit racist if you ask me. I thought diversity was our strength, Keir. What's going on? Not want a bit of Kanye like. This man let in literal murderers and rapists into our country with no idea of their background, put them in a hotel where they literally went and did the worst things to people. But don't worry, I'll always look after our community because Kanye's not coming. I get Kanye can be offensive. I'm not supporting a single thing he's ever fucking said, but come on. This man let people out of jail early, very early, and the fucking day they went out, they fucking went and murdered people. Blood on his hands. And he wants a pat on the back because Kanye can't sing Gold Digger at a fucking wireless festival. Fuck off. So that's all I've got to say for today. I really, is anything ever going to surprise us again at this point? The system is so fucking corrupt, isn't it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Big love to all of you. There's some really intelligent commenters we've got here in the community. I really appreciate everything you say. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe to the True Geordie YouTube channel. I'll see you on the next one.